A true hero doesn't believe in excuses!
This is a scene that many people use to justify Bakugo coming back to life. And although All For One did explode the torso of Best Jeanist, in My Hero Academia chapter 331, we learned that this injury was related to his lungs, not his heart. There have been so many comments theorizing on how Bakugo can survive his death. But what if I told you that Horikoshi has already set in place the answer to how Bakugo can and will come back to life? And the center focus of it all is Deku. Let's talk about it. Hey, Wise. So with there being an uproar of people claiming that Bakugo will come back to life, there comes a snowstorm full of crazy and wacky theories on how he could survive. But the most important aspect to Bakugo surviving never seems to be in any of these theories, and that is considering how Bakugo is going to get away in the first place. If you really think that Bakugo is going to somehow survive his death, how do you really expect that to happen with All for Shigaraki being right next to him? We do have to remember that All for Shigaraki didn't kill Bakugo for being a bystander, and instead he specifically sought to kill Bakugo for the sole purpose of using his corpse to make Deku go berserk whenever Deku arrives. So to think that with him actually killing Bakugo, All for Shigaraki is now going to turn around and forget about him would be quite naive, to say the least. So the first thing we have to do is to figure out how Bakugo's body can get to a place where he can actually be tended to, and that's going to be quite difficult. There's only one hero who can actually get Bakugo's body away from Shigaraki, and that is Monoma. Being that Monoma has the quirk copy, he has already shown in this war that he was able to copy Kurogiri's Warp Gate quirk, allowing him to teleport anybody to wherever he needs them to go. But there's a problem. The way that Monoma's powers works is that he has a finite amount of time that he can actually use their quirk, and once that time is up, then he would have to touch that person again in order to use their quirk, which is the exact reason why he is able to continuously erase Shigaraki's quirk, because in knowing his weakness, he is in consistent contact with Aizawa. However, Monoma does have the ability to improve the time limit that he is able to hold a quirk, as in the beginning of the series it was initially stated that he can only store quirks for 5 minutes, whereas during the class 1A versus 1B joint training arc it was further stated that he can store quirks for up to 10 minutes. So with there being about a 7 to 8 month time skip, along with participating in rigorous training and hero duties because of the fall of Hero Society, it could be possible that Monoma has risen his time limit to upwards of an hour, meaning he could still have Kurogiri's Warp Gate quirk, which will allow him the ability to effectively teleport Bakugo to a safe area. But there's another problem. Another drawback of Monoma's copy quirk is that he's only able to activate one quirk at a time, meaning if Monoma decides to warp Bakugo to where All Might is, he would have to effectively stop using Aizawa's erasure quirk, which would reactivate all for Shigaraki's quirks and put every hero in that area in danger. So it seems like it's futile for Bakugo to even escape All for Shigaraki's clutches, which makes it nearly impossible for him to survive. Or is it? When you look at the position that the heroes are actually placed in, they actually would have a slight advantage over Shigaraki if they can commit to doing one thing. The UA coffin was specifically tailored to go against All for Shigaraki, in which if he were to decay, they have panels on the ground that flies in the sky so that the platform would decay in the middle of the air instead of the ground, in which everything else would be destroyed. And the most important thing to slow down Shigaraki is the electromagnetic barrier that is around the UA coffin. If in fact the heroes can somehow corner All for Shigaraki and effectively enclosing him into the electromagnetic barrier, that will be able to stall Shigaraki just enough for Monoma to stop using Aizawa Sensei's erasure quirk, switch to Kurogiri's Warp Gate quirk, and teleport Bakugo to a safe area where he can then be tended to for his future revival. But there's another problem. There is just no way in the world the heroes can actually pin Shigaraki back. Having the strength, speed, and agility of a Prime All Might, along with having a 100% singularity body that quite literally adapts to nearly every single attack that happens to you, Mirko, Best Jeanist, Edgeshot, Mirio, Tamaki Yamajiki, and Nejire Hado are pretty much useless against Shigaraki. But this is why Deku's presence is so important, because although I believe without a shadow of a a doubt Alpha Shigaraki would 100% clap Deku if they were to fight, that doesn't discount the fact that Deku still does have full 100%, which allows him to temporarily utilize a stronger power that can actually move Shigaraki closer to the electromagnetic barrier. So Deku, along with the remaining heroes, must devise a plan that is centered around Deku to corner Alpha Shigaraki and the electromagnetic barriers long enough for Monoma to get Bakugo to safety. And the interesting part about all of this is that the heroes already have that plan, because if you remember, the original plan was for Deku to go along with the heroes in the UA coffin to fight against Shigaraki. So whatever that original plan was needs to be executed the moment Deku arrives. So now that we know how Bakugo can actually get to safety, we can now look at the singular way that Bakugo can actually come back. And the answer is quite simple. Eri is the first person that comes to mind as someone who could potentially save Bakugo. But unfortunately, even though Eri has the ability to rewind Bakugo's body back to its previous state, the limitations on her quirk is that they only work on living beings, meaning she can't rewind inanimate objects, or in this case, a dead Bakugo. The second person or person that would come to mind would easily be Recovery Girl, along with the advanced medical doctors in Central Hospital, which is a very feasible conclusion. However, if Bakugo is already dead, then it's not likely that they will be able to bring somebody who is dead back to life. But there is one person, and only one person, who can actually bring somebody from dead to alive, and his name is Overhaul. Overhaul has the quirk Overhaul, which gives him the ability to disassemble and reassemble any piece of matter with his bare hands. Whether it be living or non-living things, Overhaul has the ability to disassemble and reassemble anything, and actually has demonstrated his ability to revive the dead many times throughout the entire series. It's even stated that when reconstructing a person, Overhaul is effectively healing every single injury and ailment and reassembling them to a biologically perfect state. So Bakugo's heart and every other organ and limb in his body would be in a biologically perfect state, bringing Bakugo back to life, where he will be able to demonstrate more of his awakened quirk. And although this sounds great and plausible, Overhaul's only weakness is that in order to activate his Overhaul quirk, he needs to touch you with at least one finger. And with Shigaraki completely taking away his arm, Overhaul can't activate his quirk. So it seems that even with the only person in the entire story that can save Bakugo, there's just no way for Bakugo to be saved. Where actually, there is one way. Despite what I said earlier, Eri is the key to saving Bakugo, because although Eri's quirk cannot rewind Bakugo's dead body to its previous living state, it can in fact rewind Overhaul's body to its previous state, which would give Overhaul back his arms and allow him to save Bakugo. And the most interesting and important thing about this scenario is that Horikoshi set this entire thing up when Deku met with Overhaul during his fight with Lady Nagan, in which after Deku defeated Lady Nagan, the only thing that he requested of Overhaul is to go and apologize to Eri. So in apologizing to Eri, that created this scenario where Deku still at the end of the day saved Bakugo. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and watch this video next.